Good morning. Good morning. I thought I was live, and then oof, all of a sudden I wasn't live, and yeah. Anyway, so hopefully I'm on now. I hope you all are having a fabulous morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I am so excited, and a little bit of a squirrel besides the little bit of technical difficulty here just now. It is 68 degrees where I am in Florida. Now, it is still pretty humid, but that's supposed to change over the next few days. But 68 degrees is a big stinking deal around here. So I'm super excited about that. And there's a special kind of energy that just kind of comes with fall for me. And I can see that starting to ramp up because I can feel those temperature changes and just the way the air feels outside. Anyway, if you are just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna. I'm a mom, a nana, a girlfriend, a runner, jazzerciser, line dancer, fairly active person, huge wellness advocate, studying for my Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. I work part-time for my local my local affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is NAMI. And, I started Wellness Wednesday because I've been in a lifelong battle with anxiety and depression. And, I found that peer wisdom works. That's why so many support groups are so successful, because it's based on peer wisdom and it's based on people sharing tips and tricks with each other, wins and fails, and what they've tried that's worked, and why they think it didn't work, and all the things. So one of the ideas behind Wellness Wednesday is for you to comment and interact. Now, with that said, sometimes Facebook doesn't show me all the things. Facebook likes to hide things, like it's a great big old game of hide and seek. And sometimes I may not see your questions or comments until after I'm done live. And that does not mean I'm ignoring you. So if I don't respond to something you've commented or asked, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I did not see it. Sometimes I get to see comments, sometimes I don't. And just trust that I will respond afterwards. So Wellness Wednesday, wellness is a broad umbrella. We cover a lot of things during Wellness Wednesday. We cover mental health stuff. We cover mostly wellness, but there's a lot of things that fall under wellness, which is diet, nutrition, exercise, mindset. We spend a lot of time talking about mindset, and that's what we're going to talk about today. If you are not new, if you've been following me for a while, I hope you enjoyed, and enjoy is a relative term, last week's episode about suicide prevention awareness. Had I thought, it probably would have been this week's episode instead of last week's, because while it is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, today is actually Suicide Awareness Day. So I will drop the link to that video in the comments in case you missed it, in case you need to rewatch it. There's some good resources there. So definitely check that out. I wasn't actually originally sure what topic I was going to cover today. I had one for next week. But not necessarily for today. And I think next week's will kind of play off today. But here's something that happened. This topic started consistently popping up for me. It kind of became a theme, which was consistency. It started with a post I put up after my Sunday morning run, and also has a lot to do with the health habits challenge that's currently running in my VIP community, wellness community. It really started out as a group, and it's really become more of a community, which I absolutely love. So it seemed that this theme, this consistency theme, was screaming out at me, and that today was a good day to talk about it. So today we're going to talk about why consistency is the real goal, and it's the real MVP over trying to increase or spark or ramp up our motivation. So let's talk about it. We're going to start with some definitions. There's a quote that it seems to be, it's often used and seems to be attributed to a lot of different people. So I can't give any one single person credit. Otherwise I would. I try to give credit whenever I can. You will not always be motivated, so you must learn to be disciplined. We have seen this over and over and over again. And sometimes I think that because of how often we see things like this, we have a tendency when we see the words consistency, motivation, etc., to roll our eyes. But what I hear people talk about when they're talking about getting better at something or doing better or changing their habits, they're not talking about consistency. They're saying, I just need to get the motivation too. So let's talk about those definitions. Now, I'm a muscle car girl at heart. I love those old muscle cars, big block engines, the way they sound. In fact, one of the reasons that I got my Jeep Cherokee, one of my Jeep Cherokees that I have now, is because I always thought it was beautiful. When I saw it for sale on the side of the road, I went to test drive it, and the second I started it up, because it's well, I won't get into all that. It's car stuff. It's straight piped. It's, it's got that loud muscle car sound. Some people call it a Jeep sound. That was my first thought. And I was like, this is mine. This is mine. So I'm a muscle car girl. And I've made references to the red car effect before. So maybe talking about it this way will help you have kind of a red car effect on, looking at motivation versus consistency. So I'm a muscle car girl. So your wellness journey is a lot like driving a car. And here's why. Now, in the process of researching this and things I've seen in the past, in quite a bit of my research, the car analogy is used. And I'm like, ooh, this is like a car. And then I started poking around and I'm like, okay, so everybody else thinks so too. But there's something I disagreed with there. And that is that in my research, a lot of people in using the car analogy compare motivation to a spark or the gas that you need to start the car. And I respectfully disagree. I can see where you would start out with that point of view, but when you really start digging in, motivation isn't reliable enough to be the spark or the gas that you need every time, because you need those things every time to start the car, right? You can't start a car that's got no gas, and you need that spark from the electrical system. So motivation isn't really reliable enough for that. We're going to talk about why in a minute. But motivation is basically your jumper cables. Another way you could look at it is, or another way I look at it is, it could also be like our nitrous oxide. What do I, nitro boost. So why am I saying that? Well, because motivation gives you a boost, and sometimes it can help you get started, and sometimes it can carry you a little further than usual, but it's temporary. It is not the true source of power. Okay, so that's where I'm going with that. So while I understand why some people would think of motivation as a spark, when you really start digging into how a vehicle works, which is the analogy we're running with here today, or driving with here today, that motivation isn't reliable enough to be that spark. Motivation is, like I said, your jumper cables. Can't get started. It got all the other things there, but you just need a little boost, or you just need a little jump start. Okay, motivation is great for that, but it's not it's an emotion, so it's not reliable all the time, right? That's why we talk about getting motivation, because it's something we feel like we're constantly chasing. All right, so we've talked about motivation. Now let's talk about discipline. Discipline, and there's some different schools of thought on whether discipline or consistency is the real MVP here. And I'll show you in just a minute why consistency is the answer. Discipline is your engine, okay? That's your car engine. It's all of the power. It's got all of the power. You've got all the horses, all the things, depending on what kind of vehicle you're talking about. All your power is right there in the engine. It's right there under the hood, okay? But it can't move by itself, right? Discipline doesn't move. If you're talking about a vehicle analogy, discipline doesn't move the vehicle. It has all the desire. It's got all the right things to move the vehicle, but it can't move the vehicle by itself. So what do you need? Well, you need wheels. You can't roll anywhere if you don't have wheels. And that's kind of where I put consistency, is on the wheels of the vehicle. And the wheels are key, because even the most powerful engine, discipline, is going absolutely nowhere without those wheels. You're going to sit there and you're going to rev and you're going to rev and you're not going to move. So the wheels are consistency, and consistency is discipline in action. What? Okay. So discipline is super important, and discipline is going to win out over motivation. Discipline is going to be that thing that you consistently do to win out over motivation. So consistency is discipline in action, and it starts with teeny tiny things. So motivation is an emotion, and while it can be a powerful tool, it is unreliable. Discipline is the engine, keeps you powered once you start moving, but you can't just pop discipline in the car and go. You need those wheels. And that's why consistency prevails, because even if your wheels are tiny little donut spares, which are, I liken to tiny habits and imperfect effort, they will still roll you forward. They're not fast. They're not flashy like those big wheels. But progress is progress. So like my runs, consistency is about just getting a little bit better each time, and continuing to show up. Sorry, the hummingbirds, I'm very excited to report, are still here, even though it's about time, and they're very distracting outside my window. Okay, so I am paying attention, I promise. So it's kind of like doing the just one more. So consistency starts with doing the same thing, or doing the thing, whatever the thing is. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Doing whatever the thing is consistently every single day. And then improving on that, or improving on that consistency, or increasing your wheel size. If you want to go with the analogy that I started with, is just getting a little bit farther or a little bit better each time. So each time you do the thing, maybe you do it for a minute longer, or you do it for a mile further, or you take a few extra steps, whatever that looks like for you. So one of my favorite stories that I used a couple years ago, actually, and told it as a story for Wellness Wednesday, it had to do with fear. And it was about my first time pulling a huge enclosed trailer. And y'all, I was petrified. I was petrified of everything about it. Not my trailer, number one. Number two, full of chairs and tables that did not belong to me. And I was responsible for, and I was driving my boyfriend's truck. So not even my vehicle. So I was terrified. I had a friend that rode with me. I wasn't good at backing up trailers. So I was just petrified about this whole thing. So it was literally like every single stoplight from my house to where I had to go with this to get it back safely was, praise you, Lord. May I have another? And it was kind of the mantra through that drive, because I just was literally praying to get through every single traffic light from me to where I needed to get this trailer. So anyway, the point is that consistency is about taking that thing you do and doing it every day, and then slowly working on improving it just a little bit each time. All right. So how do we cultivate this? Okay. There's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different places you can start. So I'm going to try to sum this up the best that I can. Recommend you get a notebook. Remember that this video will be here for the next month. So you can come back to it if you miss it, because sometimes I talk really fast. I know that. So how do we cultivate consistency? Well, it's all about the little miles. It's all about that first mile. It's all about those little miles and going 1 mile at a time. But just like I just talked about, one traffic light at a time. So we start small, which in the workout world is sometimes referred to as progressive overload. And what that means is you're not going 0 to 60 in one shot. And in the case of pulling the trailer, I wasn't going 0 to 60. Yes, I was going from my house to clear across town, the first time, but I was focusing on it one traffic light at a time. And so that's where we're going to start when we're cultivating consistency. Donut spares, even if they're little teeny tiny wheels, can still move you forward. They can still move the vehicle, right? So we got to start small. And I talked about this a couple months ago in a video that I called Small Bites. So whatever your goal is, and we're just going to take something simple. We're going to say meditation or working out. Let's go with meditation. It's easy. And a lot of people are like, I can't meditate. I can't get my brain to slow down for 30 seconds to try to meditate. So let's start with meditation. I currently meditate for 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes a day, most days. Okay. I did not start out with 5 minutes a day, let me tell you, because I was one of those people that was like, oh my gosh, I can't get my brain to slow down for 30 seconds. How am I supposed to meditate for 5 minutes? But I didn't start with 5 minutes. It was a progressive thing. I started with 1 minute a day. And I started. I had all these reasons and I had all these excuses But here's the cool thing about meditation, which is kind of similar to the analogy of you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You don't have to be able to slow your brain down to start to meditate. That is actually the purpose of meditation, is to help you get to the point where you can slow your brain down, you can dismiss those thoughts or whatever. So like yoga, I used to have a lot of people tell me I can't do yoga, I'm not a pretzel. Well, you don't have to be a pretzel to do yoga. You may do yoga for years and never be a pretzel, but you can't ever have a shot at getting there. And I'm not sure pretzel is the goal that I want from yoga, but you can never have a shot of getting there if you don't start. So we start with teeny tiny bites. So let's talk about meditation or working out. So meditation, if you want to start meditating daily, you start with like 30 seconds or a minute. You start with a very tiny small goal and you set a time each day and you work on it. And if your goal is 1 minute and you only make it 30 seconds the first time, and you're like, I can't do this, then you stop or you force yourself to hit that minute. And then once you've consistently done that minute successfully every single day for say a week, then you increase that time just a tiny bit. And you'll know when it's time because like I set a timer, and when my timer starts startling me, that means it's time to extend my meditation time. Okay? So in terms of working out, if you're like, I want to start working out every day. Well, you're not going to go to I promise you, if you're doing it right, you're not going to go to the gym and do a full-blown 30-minute to 1 hour workout with weights and the whole 9 yards every single day for the first week and still be able to walk. You don't want to go 0 to 60. You want to choose one thing and you want to focus on it. So it might look like working out at home or going to the gym for 15 minutes or 30 minutes 3 times a week, and then slowly increasing your time as your body acclimates. There's a lot of different references I can use: working out, meditation, reading, writing, whatever. But more often than not, if you try to just go 0 to 60 right out of the gate, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get injured. You're going to get burnt out, whatever's applicable to the situation. And you're going to stop. You're not going to keep going. You're not going to build that consistency. So we're going to start small. We're going to use something called progressive overload, where we just try to push a little farther each time once we've established that base. But first we need to determine what that looks like. So where is it you want to be? What habit is it you want to change? You need to identify it. And you probably have a laundry list. You're probably like me. You've got this big old list. You're like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. But when you are trying to change habits or change lifestyle or whatever it is, whether it's related to a business, whether it's related to work, whether it's related to personal stuff, you can't just be like I said, you can't go 0 to 60. You can't throw all of the things in the car and go, we're going, and just take off down the highway. You gotta determine what it looks like and pick one thing to start with when you're trying to build that consistency muscle. Okay. So, and another guy, his name's Sahil. I found his blog or an article that he wrote. And he talks about the same thing, that you can't go 0 to 60, in one shot. You have to change one thing at a time. And in my previous career, we actually had a committee that just was for a fabulous event. It's a fishing tournament. They run it every year. And years ago, we had people that would join the committee and they would want to overhaul the whole event every single year. But there were key crucial things that were working very, very well. And so eventually the committee came to an agreement that we only wanted to make one major change per year. And let me tell you something, y'all, those are words to live by. We've all at some point or another thought, I'm just going to change my whole life. I'm going to overhaul my whole life. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do this different. And I'm going to do this different. And my hair is going to be different. And I'm going to look different. And I'm going to talk different. It doesn't work. We're setting ourselves up for failure. So one change, one thing to focus on for a little bit. Okay. So that's where we start. What does that look like? Is there somebody that we want to be like? Is there somebody that is at a certain point in their home business, say, or in their their storefront business? Is there somebody that's at a particular point and we're just getting started and that's where we want to be? So we start looking at their habits, because I have a mentor who repeatedly says that success leaves clues, several of them actually. And that's what so if somebody is where we want to be, we look at what their habits are. If we have that ability, what are they doing on a regular basis? And we choose one of those things to start implementing. In the case of, if we want to learn to play an instrument, what did mom always say? Practice makes perfect. So what is the key foundational thing that we can do that's going to help us to learn to play that instrument? And that's the thing we choose that we need to do every single day. If it means practicing the one song that we know, okay. I love line dancing. I got very frustrated because classes moved, classes got canceled, and a lot of classes are not in a time frame that I can get to them. But I also got very tired of forgetting all of my favorite dances. So what did I start doing? I started line dancing at home so that I could keep those dances fresh in my brain. And the result was that I line dance at home at least once a week. I have a playlist, and those dances stay fresh in my head. Because I consistently do them, whether it's once a week, twice a week. It's my rule is a minimum of once a week. I have to go through those dances. And that way, when I do start going back to a class, I haven't forgotten all of those moves. I'm not starting over. So we determine whatever that one thing is. We choose one thing, whether it's a habit change, whether it's making our bed every day, getting up a little bit earlier. And again, even with getting up earlier, that's not a 0 to 60 thing. If you're used to getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, I'm going to start getting up at 4. You're setting yourself up for failure. Start moving your alarm clock back 15 minutes, 30 minutes at a time, so that you gradually get there. Again, the most important thing about consistency is it's not a 0 to 60 thing. That's more of a motivation issue. 0 to 60 is too fast. We want to go a little bit at a time. We want to slowly increase our speed. All right, so determine what that one thing looks like, whatever it is that you want to implement, and pick one thing that's going to get you there. It might take several things to get you there, but again, you're going to pick one thing to focus on for the first few days, the first week, maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks. Rumor has it that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So you're probably looking at least 3 weeks before something becomes consistent. So we've chosen it. We've picked one thing we're going to implement, right? Now we got to show up. Now we've said that this is the one thing that's going to help us get where we want to be. And we have to do it every single day. Why do we have to do it every single day? Because, basically, my notes are weird here. Hang on a second. So basically, if we tell ourselves we just have to do it most days. Now, again, with working out, we've got to be realistic here. If it's working out, muscles need to acclimate, your body needs to acclimate. So again, whether it's every day or whether it's 3 days out of the week, whatever it is you choose, your goal of how often needs to directly relate to what it is you've chosen. So if it's daily meditation, obviously you need to do it daily. There are I said most days I sit down and I meditate for 5 minutes. Some days at 3 minutes, I shut off the timer because I just can't, I am just shoot. So, but every day I sit down to meditate for 5 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't last. Sometimes the timer startles me. Sometimes I'm a little all over the place, even during the meditation, but I've made the time to sit down and be still and do it. So you got to show up even when you don't feel like it. That is really what's behind consistency, is doing it when we don't feel like it. A few weeks ago, I told myself that I wanted to get back to consistently running at least 3 times a week. I tried to talk myself out of it Sunday. But Sunday ended up being one of my best runs in a while, where I went the furthest without stopping to walk, and just really nailed it. So I was really glad I did it. And I've never regretted doing something, even when I've had to drag myself to do it, if that makes sense. So we got to show up even when we don't feel like it. And that means doing the thing every day or every other day if you're starting to work out, whatever that looks like for you. If it's a business goal, and to get to that business goal, you have to, I don't know, maybe you're in the office and you have to follow up with 3 leads every single day. You figured it out. You want to, let's say you want to follow up on 15 leads every single day. And so that breaks down to 3 a day. So you tell yourself you've got to do a minimum of 3 a day. You have to show up and do the thing, whether you feel like it or not. And here's why. If you focus on doing it every day instead of most days, your chances are much better. If you tell yourself you can just get away with doing it most days right out of the gate, you're going to be like, I don't feel like it today. I can do it most days. I'll come back to it tomorrow. So here's what happens. Taking a few days off here and there breeds more days off. It's kind of like when we have junk food, my McDonald's sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin story. I can stay away from the McDonald's. I love a sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin. I can stay away from the McDonald's drive-thru for days and days on end. Well, a while back, when a McDonald's opened in the path of where I was driving to work, I hit it the first day because I was super excited. I was like, I get a sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin because there's a McDonald's here right now. It was really good. Day 2, I'm going to go get another one because it's so good, and then I'll stop. Well, by day 3, I'm craving the sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin. Now it's a fight to get past McDonald's without pulling into the driveway. So same idea. Taking a few days off here and there because you're like, I can do this for 4 or 5 days, and then I can take a few days off, and then I can do it for a few days, and then I can take a few days off. When you build that into the plan, you set yourself up for failure. You're basically telling yourself that you don't need to show up to do the thing every day. And when the more time you take off from it, the more it breeds time off from it. Bad food cravings breed bad food cravings. Good food, bleh. Words are hard. Good food breeds good food cravings, and same thing with habits. Whether they're good habits or bad habits, the more we do them, the more we want to do them. And taking that time off or building that time off into it, again, working out is maybe not the best analogy to use here because that's a different thing that you have to bring your body along with. So, but like I said, taking a few days off here and there breeds more days off. It makes it easier to not show up. Okay. And then the next thing we know, we're like, well, I was trying to be more consistent, but my motivation went out the window, and here I am 3 months later, and I never did any of those things. You got to show up. You got to show up even when you don't feel like it. So I have another mentor who talks about low production being better than no production. And that's so what that means is you should always have a minimum that you have to do. Like, for example, my goal is to sit down and meditate for 5 minutes. If I make it through half because it's an off day and I can't get my brain to settle down, and I keep getting interruptions, if I make it through half of that, I have made the time to sit down and meditate, so that's okay. Am I planning to do less than 5 minutes? No, I'm not. But if I do less than 5 minutes, a minimum of a minute counts. At a minimum of a minute, I check it off on my checklist and say, I meditated today. You know what I mean? I have a little streak. I'm really good with checklists and tracking, and look, I've done it this many days in a row, and I can see that, and it's a great visual for me. So if I meditate for at least a minute, I get to check that box off. But the goal is 5 minutes, and that's what I show up to do every single day. So this gentleman that I spoke of that wrote this article, Sahil Bloom, and I'm going to drop a couple of these things in the comments when I'm done, talks about a goal ABC system, okay? And what that means is goal A is where you start every day. Goal A is that perfect, ambitious, this is what I'm going to do, okay? So that might look like meditating for 5 minutes. And then goal B is your ground base. Okay, well, this might be a little too ambitious today, so it's 3 minutes. I'm going to stop because I just can't. Okay? But I did 3 minutes. And then goal C is your minimum. That's the minimum non-negotiable, which is a minute. Or in your case, it might be 30 seconds. In my case, it's a minute. If I do it for at least a minute, I get to check it off as I meditated today. So it just depends on you, but low production is better than no production. So if you're showing up every day, whether you feel like it or not, let's take that example for the salesman in the brick and mortar store that wants to follow up on leads. If you've got 15 leads you want to follow up on per week, and that breaks down to 3 a day, and a low production day might be 1. All right, well, I called on 1, but I'm just not feeling this today, so I'm walking away. All right, does that make sense? So low production is better than no production. Give yourself grace in the amount, not the action. And that's what this boils down to is we always say, and I'm a huge fan of giving yourself grace. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. We're going to screw up. We're going to miss a day. We're going to fall off the wagon, the fast food wagon, whatever it is. But give yourself grace in the amount, not in the action. Do the action. Give yourself grace if it's not maybe it wasn't goal A today. Maybe it was goal C. Maybe it was goal B. Maybe it was 1 minute of meditation instead of 5, or maybe it was 3 minutes of meditation instead of 5, but do the action anyway. Okay. Maybe you were like, I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And maybe one of those days it was like 15 minutes and you got a cramp and you were hungry and you had to pee and you were like, never mind. But you still did the action. You still got out there. And that's what we're talking about. Give yourself grace in the amount that you do, not the actual action or doing itself. So I love Sahil Bloom's system. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Another way to help with consistency is to block the time or schedule it. People will tell you this all day long. I didn't believe it. All day long, people will tell you schedule it. If you're trying to work out, you got to schedule it on your calendar. You have to make a date with yourself. Schedule it. Block the time. Again, my mentor, one of my closest and longest time mentors, Melissa, she taught me to time block. Okay. I fought it every step of the way. I'm like, I can't do this. This doesn't make any sense. My life is too crazy. I cannot do this. Well, then I retired and I started working from home. Retired being a loose term because I retired from that career to go pursue another one, which is why I'm in grad school. It's really easy when you don't have to show up somewhere every day by 9 o'clock to completely just have a routine just completely just disintegrate on you, okay? And it makes it hard to get things done. So I had to learn to time block. Well, one thing I never did was ask her a very specific question. And part of the problem is that I was trying to take this week-long calendar and make it look like hers from last week that was already done and color-coded, okay? Why did hers look different? Because it was from last week and it was already complete. I was sitting here trying to block out every minute of every day for the next entire week and it wasn't working. I was getting very frustrated. That's that 0 to 60 we talked about, right? So finally, one day somebody else said, well, I can't do the whole week. So I need to just look at one day at a time. And I was like, what? We can do that? Oh my gosh. And that's when Melissa said, put your non-negotiables in the calendar for the week, the things you know you have to do, the places you know you have to be, your appointments, whatever. Block those out for the week and then look at it one day at a time. And my whole life changed. Once I knew that I didn't have to plan out my whole week ahead of time, holy Hannah, y'all. That time blocking actually started to work. I still could use some work, but I'm consistent at it. Every single day I look at that planner, I look at my list, I block out the time amounts that I believe I need to or will be working on. Oh, these hummingbirds are busy this morning. So happy to see them. Then I need to be working on whatever the thing is. And that's something I do consistently is make my list of things to do and look at my time blocking. I feel weird if I don't start my day by opening that planner and blocking out what I'm going to do with it. Sometimes I do it the night before, but I feel better if I do it the morning of. That's up to you, not the point. But put it in the schedule. That's the point here. If you want to work out 3 days a week, put it in the schedule, especially if you're a schedule-oriented person. If you're a busy person who's got lots of appointments, put it in the schedule. Be like, nope, I have an appointment at that time. I can't have breakfast with you because I have an appointment that time. You don't have to tell anybody what the appointment is. You don't have to worry that they're going to be like, oh, you can skip the workout. Come have breakfast and mimosas with me. Let's do it. I have an appointment. Can't do it. Okay? So time block it. Put it in the schedule. Another way to put this is another thing to work into this time blocking or scheduling is eat the frog. I don't remember who coined the phrase, but eat the frog means do the hard things first. The things that you're dragging your feet about, the things you don't want to do those first. Get them out of the way. Because here's what happens, and here's why so many people are like, you want to be successful? Get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Because mornings are your key. Mornings are where you have the most energy. Well, most of us. Some people are anomalies and they don't get energetic till like 2 in the afternoon. But basically, mornings for the win. Your willpower, your discipline, your desire to do something is going to fade along with your energy as the day progresses. That's why runners are like, work out or get the run in before your brain figures out what you're doing. So work it into the schedule, and if you can, maximize it in the morning. Get it done first, whatever that looks like, whatever your morning looks like for you. If you're that person that doesn't really come alive till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then at midnight when everybody else is going to bed, or 10 o'clock when everybody else is going to bed, you're like, I got to do this and I got to do this. If that's you, fine. Get those hard things out of the way, the new habit, the meditation, whatever it is, before, because the longer we put it off during the day, and I can attest to this, I did not meditate yesterday. Do you know why? Because I didn't make time for it in the morning, because I changed my schedule at the last minute, and I didn't follow the time blocking, and I did not get my meditation in yesterday. So, that thing we want to implement, that new habit that we want to have, that thing we want to do consistently, we've got to get it in first thing. We've got to eat the frog. We've got to do the hard things first and take advantage of that extra energy and willpower that we have at the beginning of our day, whatever that looks like. All right, I need to start wrapping this up because this is a long one, because stories make it long. Tie your new actions to routines that you already have working. If I'm out running in the morning, I want to do more walking lunges. When's the best time to do that? During my warm-up and my cool-down. So now my warm-up and my cool-downs look like, besides a few agility drills, now they contain walking lunges because I tied a new habit into something I was already doing. So that is a great way to help you develop routines. To get back to the driving metaphor, the car metaphor, basically it's mapping out, basically the time blocking, the tying things to routines, all of that. It's about mapping out your route, right? It's about your route, depends on where you're from. Remove obstacles, energy leaks, distractions that keep you on the road, because you want to limit off-roading, because that can be a detour we don't want to take, right? What does that mean? That means don't look at your stinking phone if you're trying to meditate for 5 minutes. Put the phone away somewhere unless you're using it as a timer. Don't look at it. It means if you know there's something that's going to get in your way, if you know that you usually get up at 8 and you don't have that 5 minutes to meditate, get up at 7:55. Give yourself the 5 minutes. Clear the distraction. If you want to get up and go for a run or get a workout in every morning, lay your clothes out the day before if you know that that's an issue. If you're looking at it and it's out and it's ready to go and you don't have to choose it, then it's easier. You're clearing out the obstacles that will keep you from getting from point A to point B. In this case, it's from bed to hitting the road or the gym or whatever. So tie new actions to routines and remove the obstacles that'll keep you from off-roading, okay? Don't text and drive. We're back on this car analogy now. Don't text and drive. Like I said a minute ago, what does that mean? Put down the dang phone. If you want to get up half an hour earlier in the morning and meditate and journal, do not pick up your phone, because that will distract you. Do not pick up your phone. Put the stupid phone down for 30 minutes and walk away from it. Even if you're using it as your alarm clock, you can shut off that alarm or hit the snooze button and set it somewhere. Shut it off. Don't hit the snooze button. Ever. That's a problem I have sometimes. Don't ever hit the snooze button. Don't even start that habit. But put the phone down and do the thing without the phone. Clear out the distractions. Whatever it is, give it focused time for an hour. If you time blocked it for an hour, if you're going to the gym, put it in your pocket. Give it focused time for 1 hour, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes to meditate, whatever it looks like. Give it focused time. Put the phone down. Don't text and drive. Bring passengers. What does that mean? It means harness the power of accountability. Have someone in your corner. Identify someone, a mentor, a friend, a spouse, a partner, whatever the case may be, that helps to keep you accountable. That's why the challenges that run in my VIP community work, because we have to be accountable to each other. We got to check in every day. Even if it was a complete fail, I tell my VIPs all the time, if the day was a complete fail, you didn't hit a single one of the goals, check in on this post and be like, tomorrow's another day. You need that accountability. We all thrive on that accountability. That's why challenges like that work. Harness that power. Bring someone along for the ride, okay? Tell them what your goal is and be accountable for that goal. And then track your progress. Track numbers, untracked numbers don't grow, change, reduce, whatever it is you want them to do. That's why I said I have like a little spreadsheet and I check it off every day. Those track numbers help me to know where I've been and how far along I am. So, but basically they keep us from getting so caught up in the destination that we forget to recognize the milestones, mile markers that we've hit. Yes, I'm having fun with this analogy. The mile markers that we've hit along the way. And that also means skipping the comparison. We should be focusing on our progress and not looking at what somebody else is doing. Their journey's different. They may have a different engine under the hood. Maybe their destination is different. So just because they're riding next to us on the road and maybe they're a little bit ahead of us doesn't mean we should be paying any attention to what they're doing. So track your progress. Whether that's a pedometer so that you're getting steps every day, whether that's a checkbox on a spreadsheet that says you did this every day, whatever that looks like, track it, because track numbers are what change. If you're not tracking it, you have no idea if you want to reduce it, increase it, whatever, because you don't know what you're doing. And then finally, like I said, skip the comparison, but I have a 30 daily habits routine, a list from a place called theladders.com. It's a 30-day list, it's 30 daily routines. I can't talk today. It's 30 daily routines that are easy to adopt, that are the most identifiable habits of the most successful people. What they're successful at doesn't matter, right? As long as they're successful at whatever they wanted to be successful at, that's our goal, right? So some of these routines are very, very simple, like making your bed. I didn't make my bed on a daily basis until I was in my early 40s. There were a few reasons that I started. We won't get into those right now because I'm already running way over. But you reach a point where if you do the thing every single day, you feel weird if you don't do the thing. So start by making your bed. That's one of these habits. Make your bed, exercise, take a shower, any of those things. There's 30 daily habits that they've identified as the crux of most people's success. I'm going to drop that link in the comments. So let's wrap this up. I know this has been a little bit long. I apologize. If you didn't get a chance to watch it all the way through, or you're just getting started, it will be here for the next month on my page for you to go back to, save it, message it to yourself, share it on your own wall, whatever. Remember these things. Mama always said practice makes perfect. That whole phrase isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about practicing consistently. Start. Like I said earlier, very famous quote, you don't have to start to be great, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Get started. You can sit in that car and you can rev your engine, but you'll never move if you don't shift into drive. Okay? You got to get started. Little tiny donut wheels, whatever, donut spares. You got to get started. And then again, give yourself grace without planning on it. In other words, don't plan to skip the workout, the meditation, the whatever, the calling the leads. Don't plan on that. But give yourself grace when you do and skip the punishment. It's already done. You can't undo it. A lot of people go back and they're like, okay, I didn't, I need to do these 3 extra calls today. That's just an example. But when you're constantly trying to make up for what you missed or punish yourself, this is definitely true with like cheat meals for diets, or food eating changes, I don't like the word diet. Just remember that one detour does not mean you have to turn the car around and go home. Goodness gracious, we'd have never had National Lampoons if Chevy Chase would have turned the car and gone home the first time that he had an ordeal. And Lord knows those were some major ordeals. So one detour does not mean you have to turn around and go home. If you're trying to eat healthier every single day and you break down and you find something in your pantry you forgot you had and you have a little, you know, sweet tooth binge or whatever, that doesn't mean you start the whole thing over. It means you start over with the next meal. You don't turn the car around and go home. You keep going. You had a small detour. It's okay. So don't plan the grace in, but be prepared to give yourself grace. Skip the punishment, skip the makeup, and don't let it mean that you're turning around to go home. Just let it get you back. Just get back on the road. Just get back on the road. All right. So that is it. I didn't expect this to run so long today. I apologize. I hope you found something helpful in here. I know there was a lot of information. So again, it will be here. If you found it helpful, please share. And until next week, be well, and try to be consistent. Let me know how you're doing. If there's something that you decide to implement every day or whatever, drop it in the comments, shoot me a message, and I will help be your accountability buddy. And if you're looking for a way to start being consistent, get into my VIP group, my VIP community, because we're doing a 14-day challenge right now. This is only day 3. You can still get in. It's totally okay. And then it just helps to get us moving with some steps and some water goals and stuff like that every day. So I'll drop that link in the comments too. I hope y'all have a fabulous day. Sorry this was a long one. I will talk to you soon. In the meantime, be well.